do-it-yourselfer, you're interested in not only fixing the problem but finding out why that happened. And I'm going to show you both those things, for both the stalling and for actually the shuttering of your engine during acceleration or maybe even at high acceleration. This may not solve all of your problems, but a mechanic that you would send this to that you don't want to pay for will do this anyway, probably as the first steps in eliminating these issues. So for the stalling or hard starting or hard idle or stopping at lights or not stopping well in the morning, and this is not always temperature dependent or anything, it just really depends on what mood your AIC or air intake control module feels like that day. This actually is the module, and here is the model number. I'm going to put that right in front. Hopefully you'll see that. Okay, you can readily get that at a Ford Navigator dealership. What this has is a solenoid that opens and closes when you accelerate or decelerate, and the carbon buildup in here will cause this thing to stick and not react when you need it. Therefore, it may be open or even closed and won't give you a good idle. If you want to just try this and not buy one of these are probably about $120. But it's well worth it. You won't have to replace it ever again. You can take carburetor cleaner and get all the crud out, get a Q-tip in there, make sure you clean everything out. I'm going to actually show you what the inside of this looks like. Let's see if we can get back there and see this. There we go, there's the inside. So you can see there's something that like moves around in there. It's sort of a barrel, and you're going to clean that out completely. Okay? Anyway, it's probably more than you needed to know. We're going to replace that. And for the shuttering issue, we're replacing the throttle position sensor, which this is the throttle position sensor. And both of these are on the manifold of the car and also on the full throttle body. And the full throttle body is actually the new name for your carburetor, which doesn't have anything more than just a big hole in it that allows air and intake to come in. So this is the part number for that item for the throttle sensor, and it is actually what's known as a potentiometer, so it can have some dead spots on it and cause you all kinds of erratic problems. So let's get started, and you're going to need some tools. You're going to need some metric tools. For this, you'll need a good solid Phillips screwdriver, nice heavy duty one, maybe one with a hex head on it so you can get the position sensor off, because it's kind of a bugger. And then you'll need a, actually for this you'll need a 5/16, so it's not metric, I apologize. You can use a metric, they're very close to each other. So anyway, let's get started. If you're lucky, you can get away with peeling the gaskets off. There's no gasket material, there's no gasket glue or anything like that that you need. So you need the full throttle body gasket and also the AIC control gasket, because you're going to have to pull the full throttle body off to get this done. It's a pain to try and do it while it's on the car, so I suggest you just take it off. And here we go. And plus, we're going to be using metric. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take off these bolts here on the top covering this, and that's with a number 11 millimeter wrench. And you just rock it back and forth. It usually sticks. I've got it all taken out so it's easy for this video. The next thing we're going to do is first identify the full throttle body, which is this area. And as you can see, it's real easy to get to. This is the AIC, or air control, for your dropouts in the morning when it won't start or it won't stay idling well. And here is your throttle position sensor. Both of these come off very easy. you know, I always suggest you take a picture of everything that you have in stages, and that will help you. The things that are kind of tricky to get off are this throttle cable, which you don't want to mess with too much. You're going to unload it, and then it's going to just slide out, just out of this little hole, and you leave that, and then this pushes forward, comes off, you're done. There's one more spring inside there. You hold onto this, you pull the spring off, you just set it there, you're fine. Next, you're going to be taking off this clamp here, and it just comes unclamped. And in taking that clamp off, you can actually just push it to one side back here, and you notice it has a keyway, so you can't really screw up putting it back on. But there's also some plugs, a plug that goes in here, and this is for the air mass meter selection, or a temperature selection in here. Air mass meters down below. And then you're going to also take this pipe out, okay, and you're going to unscrew this clamp, and you'll do that with about a number 8 or a flathead screwdriver. Number 8 hex is really much easier to work with. Then you do the same with the top here, and very carefully you just rock this back and forth until it comes out. And this whole thing just rolls out. And you got one more plug, which is actually your air mass meter plug down here, and I'll show it to you when you pull it out. You push in on these little plugs so they come out. You don't usually have to force any of the plugs. This whole thing comes out at once. Inside there is your air mass meter. I think that's about a $300–400 job. That'll act up and do all kinds of things, also give you all kinds of symptoms relating to what we were talking about. Speed, dropping out, all kinds of things. You'll notice in here that the full throttle body is pretty darn clean, because I took this completely out and I cleaned it with carburetor cleaner and got all the gunk out, and make sure you leave no residue, nothing in there. So I'm going to start with the AIC control, and as you can see, this plug just comes right out. Also, the temperature sensor, or the speed sensor, comes out also, and you can get yourself a socket. Now I haven't removed these because I just got the parts for it, but it runs like a top because I cleaned it out. You can buy yourself 6 or 8 months. You just have to be prepared if it goes out on you again. And frankly, you know, as a do-it-yourselfer, I just don't like getting into it again one more time. I know that I've put the part in, it's going to last, we're going to be just fine. So get yourself a container. Hopefully a little magnetic container would be really nice, just to put the parts right there. I do one at a time. We do one item at a time. We don't go for this whole system, both these parts. Now, hold this against the wall and try and hold the gasket so you can see how that gasket goes on. So you can grab the other one and you can put it on the same way. It's basically the same gasket, holes lined up, and actually either way will work. So you can't screw that one up. Get the new item. This is the way I do it, is I put the hole, get through the hole first, so I know I've got the first one aligned. And drop that in there like that. Gasket's new, it's not brittle, so it can take a little bit of you moving things around and trying to position it right. And you get get a few threads in each one of those and just get your number 8 socket. I usually like to get a long socket. Now, how tight should you clamp this down? Well, as DYI'er, you've probably done this, or maybe even you're just a guy that just wants to learn to do this on his own. That's cool. Usually, the rule of thumb on this is to just have your hand completely around here and just hand tighten it. It will come down on it. You don't want to go too tight. You can only get so much pressure from hand tight like that. You don't need to torque it down really hard. Okay? Now we're going to, that's that. Hook it back up. Now you've taken your stalling problem out, probably eliminated that completely. This, by the way, would probably be a $300-400 job. If you can see there, probably take me, the DIYers, just for the first time they've done it, maybe an hour to do. Somebody who is handy with tools and what have you, 15 minutes, it's out, replaced. Especially with this video. The video gives you lots of insight on how to do this and how easy to do it. I keep my finger on these bolts. I do not pull them out and just let them fall. That totally sucks when that happens. So I keep my finger like that and set them down until I've gotten them out. Now the one thing about this throttle body, or this throttle sensor, or this control, is that the Phillips head screws, which they really shouldn't be, are very difficult to get off. And this is where, you see, here's the gasket. You can see this was really dirty. I cleaned it up. It was black. And the car actually runs like a top right now. It runs beautiful. But I thought I would put the new parts in just to make sure that my symptom of dropping out, which I had that symptom, won't return. And if it does return, I don't feel like I've wasted any money, because this is what a mechanic would do anyway in replacing this. So this is really hard to get out. I don't know if you can see this. Put it over here so you can see it. I got the first one off. I got the second one off. Get yourself a good set of Phillips screwdrivers. Don't use funky, cheap screwdrivers. Snap-on dealership usually has them. I was told that Posi-Torque is a really good type of head to put on because it meets really well. I went and looked around I couldn't get a hold of a Snap-on dealer or any of those guys, so I grabbed these from Harbor Freight, and they're really great, and they also have a nut end on it so you can really push in and clamp down on it. This is really important for you to get this right. If you'll notice that this just doesn't slide in there. You have to position it so where you're getting it just in between and coming down, and it sits like this, and it actually has to turn a little bit to get it positioned. So you're not just like putting it in straight, putting it in and then turning it. Okay? I'm going to grab the new one. Same thing. Put it in, turn it, put the bolt on, or the screw. Normally I would do this over a table or something like that, but I'm doing this for the sake of the video. You see, how long is it taking me? Not very long. Again, this is a pretty expensive job. This is about a $60 item. This should be replaced. If I'm replacing that, I'm replacing this one. Reason why? Because this is what they call a potentiometer.